Good evening, yogis. My name is Daniel. This is Daniel Lee Yoga. Thank you for joining me for practice today. Oh, hi, Lori. Thank you. Today we have a fundamentals focused class. It's Monday, 7 p.m., the 20th of July, and thank you all for joining me. I've got Coney here. He wants to say hi. Oliver's just outside the room. My apologies for getting started a little bit later. Just getting back in. But I'm really excited for classes this week. We're going back to the basics, connecting breath and movement. Basically the simplest thing that we can do in our yoga classes. Oh, hi, Ellen. Thank you for checking in as well. Here's Oliver. What's up, buddy? So in our fundamental focus classes, we take our time breaking down poses a little bit more, going over the key concepts and component actions. And as far as working with our breath and our movement, the strategy that we're going to be taking in our classes this week is we'll be going through sequences and we'll start by lengthening our breaths. And when we go through our different postures, we may go through 2 or 3 breaths at a time. But our goal is to start bringing ourselves up to 1 breath, 1 movement. So that's kind of going to be our goal today as far as the different processes that we'll be working through. So as far as props, you can have a couple blocks nearby. Don't plan on using them too integral today, but if you typically have them, just keep them nearby. Place them up at the top of your mat. And I've got a little bit of background noise with the water going. Oh, Shauna, hi. Nice of you to join me. Good to see you. Got some background noise with the water going. If that's a little too loud, feel free to let me know. I just felt like it was time to go back to the beach this week, so I hope that works for all of you. So meet me in a nice, comfortable seat with your legs crossed, and we'll get started here. So in your comfortable seat with your legs crossed, have your ankles underneath your knees, sitting up nice and straight. If you ever have any issues sitting up straight here, you can always sit up on a block. You can wrap your mat up a little bit. If you have a blanket, you can sit underneath that. What that allows you to do is elevate your sit bones a little bit, allows your pelvis to dump forward, and more easily kind of keep your back nice and long. So you can place your palms on top of your knees, soften your shoulders, chin is parallel with the mat. You can start to gently close your eyes or soften your gaze as we just start to deepen our breathing. Let's all take a nice deep inhale in together. Through the mouth, exhale. One more time, in through the nose. Through the mouth, exhale. And just relax your breathing. Just let it be. Release any control over it right now. Let's allow ourselves to settle into our practice, releasing whatever we had going earlier in the day, and forgetting about any plans we have for the rest of the evening or the week. Let's bring our awareness to the present, to this hour that you've allotted for yourself. Just take one more nice deep breath and exhale. All right, let's gently come onto our backs so you can unrelease the wind of your feet, have your knees bent, and just gently come onto your back. So meet me on your back with your knees slightly bent, feet on the floor, arms down to the sides. Just take a nice deep inhale here. Through the mouth, exhale. Now while we're on our back here with our knees bent, just bring some awareness to your spine. Just try to get as much of our spine on the mat here. So what you'll do is just gently press down through your feet. Lift your hips up just a 1/2 centimeter and try to tuck your tailbone, send it down towards the bottom edge of your mat, and then release your tailbone back down. Maybe that helped reduce a little bit of arch in your low back. Now soften your shoulders down. With your arms down to the side, release the palms so they face up towards the sky. Shoulders rest on the mat. Take one more nice deep inhale here. Through the mouth, exhale. Now let's hug our knees into our chest. Wrap your hands either around your shins or your thighs. Give a nice little squeeze. And let's gently rock from side to side. So we're keeping our knees bent. We're gently rocking and massaging that low back. Just take it nice and slow from side to side. Now let's come back to stillness in the middle. Keep hugging that right knee in towards your chest. Wrap both hands around that right knee and extend and straighten that left leg straight out. Release that left heel to the mat. And let's flex those left toes so that the toes and the knees face up towards the ceiling. Keep drawing that right knee in towards the right shoulder as you extend out through the left heel. Stay for one more breath. And exhale, gently release and switch. So now we'll draw the left knee in. Both hands hug around that left knee. Extend and straighten that right leg out. Releasing the right heel down to the mat. Flexing the right toes and that knee so they face up towards the ceiling. Drawing the left knee in towards the chest. Extending that right heel away from the bottom. Stay for one more breath. And exhale, we'll switch again. So redraw that right knee in towards your chest. Extend and straighten that left leg out, releasing the left heel down. Now bring some awareness back to that spine. Try to draw the tailbone down towards your heels to get as much of your spine resting on the mat. Keep drawing that right knee in. Spin your inner left thigh in and down to try and keep that knee facing up towards the ceiling. Notice how it might start to engage the muscles in your legs. One more breath here. And let's switch it up. Drawing the left knee in, re-extending that right leg straight out, releasing the right heel to the mat. So again, awareness to that back, that low spine, hugging that navel down, drawing the tailbone down towards your heel, trying to get as much of your spine on the mat. Spinning that inner thigh in and down, keeping that knee facing up towards the ceiling. Stay for one more breath here. Now as you exhale, we'll now start to switch on our breath. So we'll draw the right knee in on our exhale. Switch, and on our inhale, left knee draws in. So now we're switching back and forth on our breath. So as one knee draws in on your exhale, the opposite leg straightens, and then you switch on your inhale. So just be very conscious about this. It's easy to lead with your movements and have your breath follow, but the goal for today is to try and lead with our breath and have the movements follow. So really focus, take your time. You might be moving slower or faster than I am. So just really bring your awareness to your breath here. Notice how if you're drawing one knee in, your belly may be rising, chest expanding on your inhale. And on your exhale, you may have more space as your ribs collapse, your stomach lowers. Let's do 2 more each side. One more each side on your breath. And finish hugging both knees back in towards your chest. Take a nice deep inhale. Through the mouth, exhale. Now grab around the backs of your thighs. We'll come back into a cross-legged seat. Get there your way. If you're one that likes to roll up and down your spine a couple times, you can do that. Eventually crossing your legs and coming forward. If you're one that just likes to let your knees fall off to the side, you can press yourself up that way. Try to remember how you had your legs crossed at the beginning of practice. You had the opposite leg in front. If you don't remember which way you had it initially, this time just do whichever feels least habitual, basically the most weird. feeling one. Try and do that this time. We'll balance out both sides. Resting your palms back on top of your knees, softening your shoulders down. Take a nice deep inhale. And exhale. Now just release any control over your breath again. Just let it be. And now the goal throughout practice is to try and breathe through your nose. So we're inhaling through our nose and exhaling through the nose. By inhaling and exhaling through the nose, that allows us to elongate our breaths. It has a longer way to travel and a shorter volume, shorter opening to go in and out. So if you ever have trouble just deepening your breathing, come back to just your nostril breathing. Another benefit through the nose is it allows you to filter the air as it comes in and out, humidifies it. And that humidity and warmth can translate to just warming up your body, loosening it up as we get moving. Just take a couple more deep breaths here. One more deep breath. Now, we'll come forward into tabletop. So you can either have your arms come forward, come over your knees, or let your legs fall out to the side. In our tabletop, our wrists are below our shoulders. Knees are below the hips, tops of the feet to the mat. Have your chin slightly tucked, gazes up towards the top of your mat. Fingers are nice and spread, gently pressing down through the base of each finger and each palm. If you gaze back towards and in between both thighs, your feet should pretty much be hidden behind your thighs, tops of the feet to the mat. Gently hugging your navel in and up, creating a nice long spine. Take one more inhale and exhale. Now we'll connect our breath into our cow-cats. So on your next inhale, let's drop the navel, send the tailbone up, lift the heart forward, look up into your cow pose. On your full exhale, round the back, shoulders separate, head hangs heavy, cat pose. Reversing that inhale, dropping the navel, tailbone lift, heart forward, look up. And exhale, round the back, shoulders separate, head hangs heavy. Keep going on your breath. Again, you may be a little bit quicker or a little bit slower than the pace I'm moving. Just remember the goal here is to lead with our movement and let our body follow. So take this opportunity as we move through these simple poses to not focus on the lack of challenge, maybe in the strength or flexibility of them, but the challenge of starting with the breath and allowing the movement to become second. So after you finish your last cow, meet me back in a nice neutral spine. Now we're going to reverse that. So traditionally in our cow-cats, we inhale through our cow and we exhale through our cat. This time we're going to reverse that and see how that might feel a little bit different. So we'll start with our cat on our inhale. So on your inhale, you start to arch the back, shoulders separate, head hangs heavy. Then on your exhale, let the belly drop, tailbone lifts, heart comes forward. Inhale, arching the back, tailbone tucks, shoulders separate, head hangs heavy. Exhale, dropping the navel, tailbone lifts, heart forward. So we inhale as we round the back into our cat, press the fingers down. Exhale, dropping the navel, tailbone lifts, heart forward. Keep going on your breath. And we're reversing the traditional method here. Notice how this feels. It might require more coordination. Don't worry if you mess up. We can always come back to neutral and start from there. Just do 2 more times each side. And once you finish that final one, let's meet back in a nice neutral spine. Now bring your big toes to touch. Separate your feet out wide. Your knees out wide. Keep the big toes touching, knees out wide. And then gently send your hips back towards your heels. We'll come into our child's pose. As you release your hips back towards your heels, release your forehead to the mat or to a block. Just walk your hands out, releasing your foreheads down to the mat. Forearms can release to the mat as well. If your hips don't quite meet your heels, that's fine as long as you're comfortable. You can always place a block or a blanket or a towel in between if you'd like. And if none of these options for child's pose work for you, you can come back to where we were at the beginning of practice, where we just hugged our knees in towards our chests. So make it your version of child's pose. In your child's pose, just take some nice deep breaths. I know that child's pose is always an option. It's such a grounding option. It's always a way to come back, reground yourself, recoup, reconnect with your breath. And so notice, if you ever get lost in practice, in life, if you need just a little bit of a break, come back into your child's pose here. Should be nice and restorative, staying away from any pain. Let's take 2 more nice deep breaths here. One more deep breath. Now begin to raise your forehead up. Lift your hips up back off your heels. Come back up to a tabletop. Let's curl the toes under. Press the heels back. Begin to lift the knees up. Begin to lift the hips up. Straightening the legs back. Pressing the hips back towards the heels. Come into your downward dog. This is our first downward facing dog. So let's take our dog for a walk. You can pedal out one leg, pedal out the other. Maybe lift one heel, lift the other. And if down dog is too much for you, just release your knees back down into tabletop and you can still pedal out your legs here. Just make it your down dog. Use this time to move, to loosen up a little bit more. 2 more breaths here and your down dog. Sustain for 1 more breath. And then meet me back in stillness in your down dog. Let's inhale as we gaze forward. Bend the knees, exhale, walker step to the top of the mat. At the top of the mat, stay in your forward fold. Feet or hips width distance, heels behind those center toes. Let's grab opposite elbows. Knees can bend, let that head hang heavy. Gaze is back in between both legs. Try and spin those inner thighs in and back. In your ragdoll pose here, you can stay in stillness, or if you like to rock back and forth, you can gently rock from side to side, maybe bending one knee a little more than the other. Really starting to loosen up that low back, softening the shoulders away from the ears. Switch which elbow is on top, and keep swaying back and forth, or just staying in stillness right in the middle. A couple more breaths here in our ragdoll. And let's come back to stillness. Release our arms down to the sides. Now we'll gently come up to standing, but we'll take our time. So press your feet down into the mat. Let your head and your arms hang heavy, spinning the inner thighs in and back. And gently start to roll up your spine, 1 vertebrae at a time. Coming up to standing, your head and your arms is the last thing to arrive. Once you come up to standing, let's roll those shoulders up and back a couple times. Slow that down. Let's roll the shoulders back and forward, opposite direction. Alright, coming back to the top of your mat if you're not already there. Make sure your feet are hips width distance, heels behind the center toes. Arms are down to the sides, palms face forward. Try and draw that tailbone down towards your heels as you lift that frontal hip points up to those front bottom ribs. Palms face forward, softening the shoulders away from the ears. Just take a moment here to reconnect with your breath. Trying to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. We'll begin to move now through some sun salutations, and again, we'll take our time moving through a couple iterations of it, with our goal being to move up to one breath to one movement. So it may be a little more repetitive, but just know that it allows you to focus on your breathing, making that happen before your movement. So settle in, take one more nice deep inhale, and exhale. Now on your inhale, raise the arms up overhead, palms face each other, soften the shoulders away from the ears. Maybe you look up towards the fingertips. Keep pressing down through the heels, drawing the tailbone down, lifting the frontal hip points up. Staying for one more breath. Keeping the arms nice and straight, slightly bend the knees, and on your exhale, begin to fold forward. Hinge forward into your forward fold. Your knees can bend as much as you need to as you release your hands, either palms to the mat, fingertips to the mat. If you have your blocks, you can place your hands on your blocks. Or if you're up a little bit higher, you can just gently rest your hands on your thighs. But try to let your head hang heavy with your chin slightly tucked wherever you are. If you like, you can begin to straighten the legs slightly. Staying for one more breath in your forward fold. And now on your inhale, place your hands to the tops of your shins and raise up halfway. So the goal here is to have your torso parallel with the mat. Your knees can still be bent here, but try to soften the shoulders away from the ears while you extend out through all sides of the torso. Really extend through the crown of the head, pressing down through the feet. Staying for one more breath in your halfway lift. Exhale, rebend the knees, forward fold. Staying for a couple breaths in your forward fold again. Spreading the toes, pressing down through the base of each foot, spinning the inner thighs in and back. One more breath here. Let's press down through the feet, and on your inhale, raise the arms out and up, coming back up to stand, arms overhead, palms face each other, gazes up towards the fingertips. Soften those shoulders down, release the tailbone down towards the heels. Try and draw those frontal hip points up. Breathe into those back ribs. Stay for one more breath. And exhale, release the hands down through center and down through the sides. Palms face forward. Take one inhale here. And exhale. Let's repeat that, ramping up slightly. So we'll inhale the arms up overhead, palms face each other. Stay for a breath here. Exhale, hinge forward. Knees bend, forward fold. Come into your standing forward fold, releasing your hands, your fingers, your palms down. On your next inhale, place your hands to the tops of your shins. Nice flat back, parallel with the mat. Elongating through all sides of the torso, slight tuck of the chin. One more breath here. And exhale, hinge forward back into your forward fold. Spinning the inner thighs in and back. Letting the head hang heavy, softening the shoulders away from the ears. Let's press down through your feet, and on your inhale, lift the arms out and up. Come back to standing, arms overhead, palms face each other. Soften the shoulders away from the ears, release the tailbone down, and on your exhale, release the hands down through the center and down to the sides. All right, we're ready for one breath, one movement. Here we go. Inhale the arms up overhead, look up. Exhale, hinge forward, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, nice long spine, hands to the shins. And exhale, forward fold. Press your feet into the mat. Inhale, arms out and up overhead. Exhale, hands down through center and down to the side. Stay for a breath. Let's repeat that. Inhale, arms up overhead. Palms face each other. Exhale, hinge forward, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, nice long spine. Exhale, forward fold. Press your feet into the mat. Inhale, arms out and up overhead. Palms face each other. Exhale, hands down through center and down to the sides. Are you breathing through your nose? Are you letting your breath guide you through your practice? We'll begin to build off of our sun salutation. So make sure your feet are still hips width distance, heels behind those center toes, arms down to the sides, palms face forward. Take one more inhale and exhale. So we'll inhale, raise the arms up overhead. Palms face each other. Stay here for a breath, softening your shoulders down. Maybe the gaze is up towards the fingertips. On your exhale, hinge forward, knees can bend, forward fold. Let your fingers or your hands or your palms rest down on the mat or your block. On your next inhale, place your hands to the tops of your shins. Nice flat back. Slight tuck of the chin. Maybe you begin to straighten your legs. Sorry, Coney was right in front of the camera. On your exhale, release down into your forward fold. Staying for a couple breaths in your forward fold. Now, press your palms down into the mat. So if you're using your blocks, place them off to the side. Press your palms down shoulder width height, fingers forward, wrist back. Bend your knees as much as you need to make that happen. We'll step the right foot back. We'll step the left foot back, dropping our knees down. We're in a modified plank, similar to our tabletop, but our knees are farther back behind us. Our toes are still curled under. Shoulders resting on top of the wrists. We're still drawing that tailbone down towards our heels. Staying for one more breath here. Take an inhale. And on your exhale, we'll shift the torso forward. Bend the elbows back and lower all the way to the mat. Releasing the forehead to the mat. Uncurling the back toes. Press the tops of the feet into the mat. And on your inhale, lift your head up, chest up into your baby cobra. Staying here, breathing through your nose, drawing your tailbone down toward your heels. Softening your shoulders away from each other, down your spine. One more breath here in your baby cobra. And exhale, gently releasing the forehead down. Let's curl the toes under. Press your hands into the mat. Keep your knees down and press yourself back up into that modified plank pose. With the toes still curled under, let's lift the hips up and back. Come back into your downward facing dog. Feet are hips width distance, arms are shoulder width distance. Pressing the chest back towards the thighs. Staying for a couple nice deep breaths here and letting the head hang heavy. One more breath. And now inhale as you gaze forward. Bend the knees. Exhale, walk or step to the top of the mat. Let's inhale, halfway lift, hands to the shins, nice flat back. And exhale, hinge forward, forward fold. Stay for a moment here. Press your feet down into the mat. Let's inhale, raise the arms out and up, overhead, palms face each other, look up. And exhale, hands down through center and down to the side. Stay for a breath here. So we'll repeat that sequence, and the goal here is one breath to one movement. So try and follow along. Keep pressing your feet gently down into the mat, palms face forward, softening the shoulders away from the ears. One more breath here. And exhale. On your inhale, raise the arms up overhead, palms face each other. Exhale, hinge forward, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to the shins, nice long spine. And exhale, forward fold. Plant your palms, step your right foot back, step your left foot back, drop your knees down, shift the torso forward, bend the elbows, lower all the way down. Uncurl the back toes on your inhale, lift the hips up. Lift the chest up, head up. Exhale, release the forehead back down. Curl the back toes under, take an inhale. On your exhale, press yourself up through plank pose. Take an inhale here. And on your exhale, lift the hips up and back into your downward facing dog. Staying here for a couple breaths. So just check in. You can always drop down to your tabletop or come to your child's pose if you need a little breather. Otherwise, stay in your down dog for 2 more breaths. What's up, Oliver? One more breath here. Now inhale as you gaze forward. Bend the knees. Exhale, walk or step to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to the shins, nice long spine. And exhale, forward fold. Press your feet into the mat. Inhale the arms up overhead. Exhale, hands down through center and down to the sides. All right, just take a quick check-in with yourself, seeing how you're feeling. Noticing, is it easy? Is it hard to keep up with your breath, to let it move? Are you going back to your breathing through your mouth? Are you able to keep up through your nose? Just take a quick notice before we continue. Let's take 2 more deep breaths here. 1 more deep breath. And we'll start a new sequence. At the top of your mat, feet or hips width distance. Let's inhale the arms up overhead. Exhale, hinge forward, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, nice long spine. Exhale, forward fold. Plant the palms, keep the left foot forward, step the right leg back. Release the right knee to the ground, and on your inhale, lift the arms up overhead. Exhale, hinge forward, palms release back down to the mat. On your inhale, press and lift that right leg up, right knee up. Exhale, bring that right leg forward. Inhale, halfway lift, nice long spine. And exhale, forward fold. Keep the right foot forward, extend that left leg back this time. Release the left leg down, and on your inhale, raise the arms forward and up overhead, lifting the torso up. And exhale, release down. Inhale as you press back through the heel, lifting that left knee up. And then send your left foot up to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, nice long spine. And exhale, forward fold. Coming back up to standing, inhale, arms out and up overhead. Palms touch. And exhale, exhale, release the hands down, arms down to the sides. Take another deep breath here. And exhale. All right, let's face the long edge side of your mat. So we'll switch it up a little bit. We'll separate our legs out wide. Heels behind those center toes. I want to measure about 1 leg's distance apart. You can also extend your arms out if you were to release something underneath your wrists. That's about where your ankles would be. But make sure your feet are nice and parallel. Try to do the same thing with your tailbone. Draw that tailbone down as you try and lift these frontal hip points up. Place your hands on your hips. Take a nice deep inhale. Through the mouth, exhale. This time, nice deep inhale. Hold it at the top. Realize how much your chest is up and open. Keep that. And exhale, just release the breath out. One more time. Inhale. Hold that breath in. Keep that chest open. And just exhale, release out. Now press down through your feet. We'll add a wide-legged forward fold. So inhale as you look up, add a slight back bend. And exhale, we'll hinge forward. Come down about halfway. Keep pressing the feet into the mat. And then you can release your hands down. If you're using blocks, you can place your blocks underneath both hands. Otherwise, you can release your fingertips or your palms to the mat. Gently start to release your head, let it hang heavy. You can stay here, or if your palms are to the mat, you can gently begin to walk yourself back. And if neither of those options are for you, just stay up with your hands at your hips. You're forward folding as much as you can. If you're walking your hands back, just make sure your fingers are still facing forward and you bend your elbows the farther back your wrists come. Maybe you can line up your wrists with the backs of your ankles. Keep letting that head hang heavy, drawing those knees up into your thighs. And as we hold this pose again, come back to your breathing. Notice how when you inhale, you can lengthen your spine. Exhale, maybe you can forward fold a little bit more. Nice deep inhale as you lengthen. Exhale as you fold. 2 more breaths here. Just 1 more breath. Pressing down through your feet, walking your hands back out if they were underneath you. Slight bend in the knees as you bring your hands back up to your hips, lift up halfway. With your knees bent, press your feet down and lift your torso back up. Release your arms down to the sides. Heel toe your feet back into hips width distance. And let's shake those legs out. All right, so we've connected our breath to our movement. We've kind of played around with our static pose with our forward fold, lengthening through our inhales and exhaling to deepen into our stretch. We'll add a little bit of twisting action here. So this one's fun. So we'll come back to the top of our mat, bringing our big toes to touch, heels separate. So we're at the top of our mat, but this time our big toes are touching. Heels can be slightly apart. Same thing, arms down to the sides, palms face forward. Trying to draw the tailbone down, lifting the frontal hip points up, softening the shoulders down away from the ears. Moving into our chair pose, so keep the knees together as you bend your knees, send your hips back and your arms come forward. Palms face each other, trying to wrap the pinky side edge towards each other, wrapping the triceps in. Keeping the biceps by the ears if you can, but avoid arching the spine. Keep a nice long spine. Make sure you can gaze down and see your toes. If not, shift your hips back. You want more of the weight into your heels, so much so that you could pick your toes up off the mat. Release those toes back down if you picked them up. And now release the hands to the center of your chest, come into prayer pose. Let's inhale as we lengthen. This time we'll exhale as we twist to the right. We'll twist from the navel up. So keep drawing this left hip back, twisting from the navel up. Neck is the last thing to turn. We'll use that same concept here. So we're not lowering our elbow down, we're staying up here. We're inhaling as we lengthening and exhale as we twist. Inhale as you lengthen, exhale, twist a little bit more. One more time, inhale, lengthen, exhale, twist. Coming back to center, stay in your chair pose. I know this is rough. We'll move to the other side, but we got it. Inhale as you lengthen. Exhale, twist to the left side this time. Draw that right hip back, most likely it came forward. And now let's inhale as we lengthen. Exhale as we twist. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. One more time, inhale as we lengthen. Exhale, twist. Coming back to center in your chair pose and release into your forward fold. Stay in your forward fold, feet together for a couple deep breaths here. Maybe you begin to straighten those legs. Take one more nice deep breath here. And exhale. Inhale as you bring your hands to your shins. Lift up halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Press your feet into the mat. Come back up to stand. Inhale, arms out and up overhead. Palms face each other. And exhale, hands down through center and down to the sides. Gently shake your legs out. We'll now come into a balancing pose. And we'll try and capture how our breath can help us balance here. So bring your feet to hips width distance, heels behind the center toes. You can face the short edge or the long side of the mat, doesn't matter. Release your arms down to the sides. Softening the shoulders away from the ears, drawing the tailbone down, lifting those frontal hip points up. What that does is create a nice long spine here. So it reduces the natural tendency to arch forward and our head comes forward. So by drawing that tailbone down, softening the shoulders down, chin slightly level with the ground, rolling the shoulders open with the palms facing forward, creates a nice long spine here. So keep that, take one more inhale, and exhale. Now bring your hands to your hips. Let's shift weight into that left leg. Bend the right knee, right heel comes off the mat. Let's open up that right hip out to the side, turning that entire leg. We'll come into our different versions of tree pose. So first option, bring that heel to that calf, keeping the toes on the mat. If you'd like, lift the right toes off the mat, staying still underneath the knee. Or the third option, skip the knee and place the bottom side of that right foot on that inner left thigh. So wherever you are, you're firming this outer left thigh in, pressing down through that left heel. Keep gently pressing the bottom of that right foot into the left leg here. And we'll add our arms. So if you'd like, you can bring your hands to the center of your chest, or you can grow your branches, arms up overhead. Wherever you are, make sure you can be nice and stable and refocus on your breath. We're still drawing that tailbone down towards our heel. Reconnecting to that nostril breathing. Softening the shoulders away from the ears, noticing how does your breath help you. If you fall out of the pose, don't worry, just come right back into it. Maybe you can listen to the environment, hear the waves in the background, and connect your breath to the sounds of nature through the virtual environment. We'll stay in for one more breath in your tree pose. Exhale, release the hands down through center. Release that right leg down. Let's shake it out slightly. Okay, bringing the feet back to hips width distance. Start with the arms down to the sides, palms face forward. Soften the shoulders away from the ears and bring the hands back to the hips. Let's bend that left knee, bring the left heel up off the mat, shifting weight into the right foot. Opening that left leg out to the side. Option 1, bring the bottom of that left heel into that right calf. Option 2, toes come off the mat, but still stays underneath the knee. Or option 3, maybe you bring the bottom of that foot into that right thigh. Either way, you're firming this right hip in, so you're not letting it sink out. Firming that hip in, pressing down through that right heel. Again, make sure this is stable for you. So if it's a little too unwieldy to have your foot up this high, just go back down a little bit lower, have your toes down. Remember, our focus here is on our breath. So if our body is leading our breath, we want to try and reverse that and let our breath lead our body here. We can add the arms, bring the hands to the center of your chest, or you can grow your branches, arms overhead. Either way, try to soften those shoulders down away from the ears. Keep releasing the tailbone down towards the heels, coming back to that nostril breathing if you've lost it here. We're staying for 2 more nice deep breaths in our tree pose wherever you are. One more breath, you got it. And exhale, gently release that foot down, release the hands down through the center, and arms release down to the sides. Let's come down onto the mat. Sit on your sitting bones and let your legs come out in front of you. Knees slightly bent with the feet flexed. Now, just like when we were sitting in our cross-legged seat, if you feel like you're falling back and you need a lot of help in order to help you stay up, you can sit up on your block, you can roll up your mat, or place a little blanket underneath your knees. Just make sure your feet are nice and flexed, starting with your knees bent here. Releasing your arms down to the sides. We're adding a forward fold, a seated forward fold here. So same exact concepts as if we were in our standing forward fold. So begin by inhaling as you lift the arms up overhead, palms face each other. Keep the back nice and long, and on your exhale, start to hinge forward at the hips. Keep the back nice and long, avoid rounding. You can release your arms down to the mat if you'd like, but keep drawing those toes back towards your face. You'll definitely feel this in the calves. But now the same thing, we'll inhale as we lengthen, and exhale as you fold. If you're one that likes to use a strap or has an extra piece of clothing, you can also wrap it around your feet and hold on to it from either side if you'd like to do that. Otherwise, just release your hands down towards the mat. Again, we're avoiding rounding, so we're sending our heart towards our toes rather than our forehead down. Keep taking nice deep breaths. Try to spin the inner thighs in and down to keep the knees facing up towards the ceiling. Sometimes they like to fall out. Now, if you want to deepen this and you want to start to straighten your legs, what you'll do is start to wiggle your sit bones back. So you keep your heels where they are and start to wiggle your sit bones back. Maybe you start to straighten the legs. But come back through breathing in as you lengthen the spine. And exhale, maybe fold a little bit longer. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. Avoid rounding that spine. Keep it nice and long. Slight tuck of the chin to elongate that cervical spine. 2 more deep breaths here. One more deep breath. And exhale as you begin to walk your hands back up. Keep your legs out in front of you. Let's draw the right knee in towards your chest. Now release the right knee down to the side. Bring the bottom of that right foot in towards that left thigh. Now if you're one that likes to use a block or a prop in this pose, you can place a block underneath that right knee to keep it up. Otherwise, just let it fall out to the side. Now from here, we'll do things a little bit differently. So one way is to just fold over directly our left leg. What we're going to do instead is add a side lean. So I'm actually going to turn, maybe it's a little easier to see here. So with our right leg in towards our left thigh, begin by placing the top of your left hand next to your left calf. So your thumb is touching that left calf, the bottom of the hand is to the mat. We'll raise the right arm up overhead, right palm faces towards that left foot. Inhale as you lengthen, bring that bicep next to the ear. And exhale, we'll side lean to the left, over that left leg. Trying to draw that right shoulder up and around as you release that left shoulder down. So here's where, if you'd like, you can begin to walk that left hand out a little bit farther, or you can begin to straighten the left leg maybe a little bit more. It's definitely okay to keep this left leg bent. The idea here is, again, we're stretching, we're twisting from that navel up, and we're inhaling as we lengthen. Exhale as you twist. You have the option to release that arm overhead, but keep the length in the spine, so we're not collapsing here. We're still opening the shoulders, broadening through the collarbones. Let's stay for 2 more breaths here. Really stretching that low back. 1 more breath. And exhale, gently lift that right arm back up. Gently lift your torso back up. We'll add a slight counter stretch. So release the right arm behind you. And from here, press this right shin into the mat and lift your hips up. Raise the left arm up overhead. Stargazer pose. Point those left toes away from your body, staying for 1 more breath. And exhale, gently release those hips back down. We'll switch to the other side. So now we'll extend that right leg straight out. Bend that left knee in towards your chest and release that left knee out to the side. So bottom of that left foot comes to that inner right thigh, like in our tree pose. Now again, we're doing things a little different. So we'll release the back of the right hand so that right thumb touches that right calf. Once we have that, inhale as you lift the left arm up overhead, palm faces towards the right toes. And exhale, start to side lean over that right knee. Again, drop the right shoulder down as you lift and twist that left shoulder away. Really try to stack the shoulders. You have the option, if you'd like, to release that left arm overhead. Just keep the bicep next to the ear. Keep flexing that right foot so the right toes come back toward your face. We're staying here for a couple breaths, creating nice length in the spine. Try not to collapse into those right ribs. We're lengthening through both sides of the torso. Remember to inhale as you lengthen. Exhale, fold a little deeper. Let's stay for 2 more breaths here. 1 last breath. Now gently press down, lift yourself back up. Let's add that counter stretch. So release the left hand down. Press the left shin into the mat and lift your hips up, right arm overhead. Point the right toes away from your body. Stay for a breath here. And exhale, gently release yourself back down. Extend both legs out. Let's bend both knees and release our backs onto the mat. Just be gentle here. From here, let's hug both knees in towards our chest and add a spinal twist. So keeping the knees and the feet together, let the knees fall off to the left side. Once you let them fall to the side, try to root your right shoulder onto the mat as you extend both arms out shoulder height, palms faced up. So again, trying to keep that right shoulder down. If the knees pop up in order to make that right shoulder come down, you can place a block, or you can place a cat in this case underneath your knees, or anything to keep them elevated if that helps you. But definitely the goal is to keep that right shoulder down. As far as your knees, they should be at least up at hip height. That allows you to avoid any undue stress in the low back. The last option here is to turn the neck to look over those right fingertips. Come back to your breathing. You may feel tight at first, but as you inhale, try and direct that breath into the body that may feel a little bit stuck. Maybe it's your low back, maybe it's your shoulder, maybe it's a little bit of your thighs. Try and breathe into that area. And then just exhale as you release. Maybe that allows you to get a little bit deeper into your twist here. We're staying for 2 more breaths. One more nice long deep breath. And turn your gaze to look back up towards the ceiling. Draw the knees back up into center. Recenter your hips as you draw the knees back in towards your chest. Keep the knees and the feet together. Let's let them drop off to the right side this time. As you drop your knees off to the right side, that left shoulder may have popped up. So try to root that left shoulder back down as you extend both arms out shoulder height, either to a T shape or a field goal pose, palms facing up. Again, if those knees pop up, just place a block or a towel underneath them to give them a little support if you'd like. And make sure those knees are at least up at hip height. Last option is to turn your neck to look over those left fingertips. Return back to your breathing. Inhaling as you lengthen. Exhale, twist a little bit more. Notice how this may feel a little different from the other side. You may be a little more stuck or a little more tense or a little bit more loose in one area versus the other. But again, try and direct your breathing into those areas that you know that need attention. Let's stay for 2 more breaths in our spinal twist here. One more breath. Let your gaze come back up towards the ceiling. Bring your knees back up. Recenter your hips. Hug those knees back into your chest. Let's separate the knees out wide. Bring the bottoms of your feet to face the ceiling. Coming into our happy baby pose, you can either clasp on the outside of your thighs, outside of your calves, or if you can reach the outside of your feet, have your arms come to the inside of your knees. Whatever option you choose, try to keep your low back on the mat. And you have the option, if you want to stay here, you can. If you want to roll side to side, massaging that low back one last time, you can do that. Just be careful, sometimes I get stuck on one side. Do what you gotta do to get yourself back up. And just meet me back in center. Release the clasp of your legs. Hug your knees back in towards your chest one last time. Wrap your hands around your shins or your thighs. Draw the back of your head and your shoulders up off the mat. Give a nice full squeeze. Nice little egg shape here. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Inhale. And exhale. Let's release it all. Extend and straighten the legs. Arms come overhead. Point the toes. Extend the fingertips away from the body. Take one more nice deep breath in your full body stretch here. And exhale, release. Arms down to the sides, palms face up, knees and the feet fall off to the side. Releasing now into our final pose of practice, our Shavasana pose. This pose is a time to release. Release any last little bit of tension you may have in your body. Loosening your fingers and your toes. Maybe you can soften your jaw. Releasing your eyebrows. And finally, release any control over the breath. Trust that what you did for practice was exactly what you needed today. You may have spent a lot of time focusing on your breath, and now's the time to just release that and allow your body and your mind to do what it needs to do. You can let your eyes soften or your gaze close as you settle in. Just let your body be heavy here. Begin to bring some awareness back into your body. You can wiggle your fingers and your toes. Rotate your wrists and your ankles. You can switch directions in those rotations. And come back to stillness for one last breath here on your back. And gently bend your knees as you roll over to one side of your body. Let your top arm rest on your bottom, and your top knee rest on your bottom knee. And stay for one breath here on your side. And try to keep your eyes softened or your gaze closed as you use your top arm to press yourself up to a comfortable cross-legged seated position to complete your practice today. As you come into your nice comfortable seat, you can place your palms on top of your knees, palms can face up, or bring your hands into the center of your chest. Let's all take a nice deep inhale together. Through the mouth, exhale. Thank you for joining me for practice today. The light and love in me acknowledges and honors the light and love in each one of you. Thank you. Peace. All right. Thank you all so much for joining me in practice today. I appreciate it. I know we got started a couple minutes late and you may have had trouble finding the listing for the class tonight, so my apologies for that. Just had to recreate it. So it sounds like everyone found their way into class tonight. So really appreciate you joining me today. I'm glad Coney's cleaning himself in the corner now, but I'm glad Coney and Oliver could make an appearance. And thanks for trying something a little bit different with me today. I really, we can easily go through our lives, not thinking about a lot of the actions we take. And when we start to refocus on our breath, it allows us to kind of look at ourselves a little bit differently and reanalyze what's driving our decisions that we're making in life. And so I hope you had fun just kind of going through these nice, simple poses and refocusing on our breath rather than our movement first. So thank you all for checking. Oh, thank you, Ellen. Oh, I appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoyed the ocean. I don't know. I think it's just been so hot in Baltimore lately that I just needed to get back to the ocean this week. So I'm glad you enjoyed. Hopefully the sounds were nice and not too loud. So as always, if you have any questions, requests, anything like that, you can leave them in the chat. If you have any comments, you can place them in the video description. Is also my contact info. Oh, thank you, Shauna. I appreciate it. Yes, I'm glad you enjoyed seeing the cats. They like to steal the show here, so should just call this Oliver and Coney's yoga. But yes, thank you all very much. Next class will be level 1 on Wednesday at 7 p.m. So we'll ramp things up a little bit, still focusing on our breath. And then Friday at 7 p.m. will be our level 2 class Eastern time. So again, thank you all so much for joining. I really appreciate all the feedback and your attendance in class today. So thanks. I hope you feel great. Just take it into the rest of the week, and I will see you next time in practice. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Daniel. Peace.